as a teenager, was simply being told not to do something effective enough for you to refrain from doing it? Or did it have the opposite effect? Take sex, for example. Sex is a perfectly normal and natural part of puberty and being a teenager. Many teens will be sexually active, regardless of what their parents say. If sexual education is not provided at home, it's left up to the school system to teach teenagers how to safely practice sex. Even in the year 2023, the question around providing comprehensive or abstinence-only sexual education in public schools is still up for debate. The U.S. funds sexual education at a state level, meaning each state gets to decide how to allocate the funds provided by the government. Abstinence only is a disservice to our youth. These programs leave teenagers to their own devices. Providing comprehensive sex ed lowers the risk of teenage pregnancy and the rates of sexually transmitted diseases and infections. Comprehensive sexual education also provides resources for LGBTQ teenagers in our communities. Comprehensive sexual education is the most effective way to ensure that our teenagers are well informed about sex in high school and beyond. Goals for both supporters of abstinence-only sex ed programs and the U.S. government is to lower rates of teen pregnancy. However, abstinence-only programs contribute to the opposite effect. In an article published by Gale in 2022, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and Alabama had the highest rates of teenage pregnancy in 2019. Out of these states, only Mississippi mandated sexual education in public schools, and out of all 5 states, they emphasized an abstinence when it was provided. So, there's a direct correlation between the lack of comprehensive sexual education and higher rates of teenage pregnancy. The more informed teens are about condoms, birth control, and other contraceptives, the more likely they are to use them, resulting in less teenage pregnancies. For such a wealthy and medically advanced country, the U.S. still has higher rates of teenage pregnancies than other wealthy and industrialized countries in the world. The Guttmacher Institute provided a study where data indicated that greater access to sexual education and birth control in comparable industrialized countries is a key reason that their teenagers have lower pregnancy rates than the United States. Great Britain, France, Sweden, and most of Canada offer more extensive sexual education programs in their public schools. Safe sex campaigns are more common in the media. The debate over providing comprehensive sex ed is what keeps the U.S. at a higher rate of teen pregnancies than those countries of a similar socioeconomic status. A goal of comprehensive sexual education programs is to lessen the racial disparity in teenage pregnancies. Guttmacher Institute also published research that said in 2008, the average of 40 teens between the ages of 15 and 19 were pregnant. Out of those 40, 37 were white, 60 were black, and 70 were Hispanic. Furthermore, leaving teenagers without resources that they need to practice safe sex puts them at risk for sexually transmitted diseases and sexually transmitted infections. In a 2011 report from the CDC, people between the ages of 15 and 24 account for almost half of the nearly 20 million STDs contracted each year in the United States. To lower these rates, teenagers need proper education. They need education on condoms, birth control, and safe sex practices. They need to know such things as how and where to get tested for STDs, how to have conversations with their sexual partners about STDs. If adults do these things, then why wouldn't we teach our teenagers to do the same? As parents, educators, and fellow members of society, we are responsible for educating our youth and keeping them safe. This includes sex. Abstinence-only programs send messages that sex is bad or wrong, and that if you have sex before marriage, you are impure or a sinner. Fear tactics, as we know, are ineffective, and they are especially detrimental to young women. In her book, Purity Myth, feminist author Jessica Valenti talks about the social messages of abstinence-only education and how they are nothing if not old school. Women are often described as weak, intellectually inferior, and in need of men's financial and physical protection. These ideas tell teenage girls that sex is not their choice, for one, but that of a man's. Young women are taught that their worth derives from waiting until marriage with a man to have sex. This perpetuates the idea that they are subordinate to men and results in lower self-esteem. As a society, we should be moving away from these antiquated ideas. We should show young women how to have confidence in their own choices and how to know their options when it comes to sex. We should show our teenage girls that they have control over their sex lives, whether they choose to have sex or not. The coming of age surrounding puberty and teendom is a time of exploration and new thinking for many. Many teenagers begin to question their sexual orientation during this time. Many parents have talks at home about sex, but they do not consider sex with the same gender. In an article from Christine Watkins, she states 3 out of 4 parents are comfortable speaking to their children about homosexuality, but they are unlikely to bring up the topic on their own. So, next in line is the school system. These comprehensive programs mean complete, which covers LGBTQ teenagers who are not covered in abstinence-only programs. And when they are, it is only to say that sex with the same gender is immoral or sinful. Leaving these topics out further stigmatizes LGBTQ teens and confuses them and alienates those who may be rethinking their sexuality. We want our teenagers to feel comfortable expressing who they are. Just as heterosexual teens deserve the right to sexual education, the same goes for homosexual students or ones that may be questioning their sexuality. By leaving this out, this could mean the difference between life and death. It is our job to keep our youth safe. It is our responsibility to teach them how to keep themselves safe, especially as they become more independent. Our teenagers look to us as those with experience to guide them, and giving them an absolute no makes us look hypocritical and also takes away their autonomy. Comprehensive sexual education is a basic reproductive right. Teenagers are the adults of our country's future. By giving them access to comprehensive sexual education, we can lower teenage pregnancy rates of STDs and STIs in the youth, and we can continue to normalize and destigmatize the LGBTQ community. As we provide our teenagers with the tools they need to grow into confident, informed adults, and to do the same for their children, if they choose to have any, we can empower them and move toward a more understanding and kind society where we respect the choices made by our fellow Americans, not only the ones that we deem to be acceptable. Thank you.